Hello, investors. This is Ted Zhang, portfolio manager at Revere Asset Management. Today is Wednesday, August 6th, 5:08 p.m., coming to you from Vienna, Virginia, with tonight's Revere Roundup Daily Market Insight video. Stay in the market. We are in an uptrend. Market leaders, we have at green, short term, neutral, but slowly turning back into an uptrend, and therefore we have a green up, green sub arrow. Medium-term trend up, long-term trend is up as well. What happened today? S&P reclaimed the 8 EMA in crypto looking to turn around. 21 over 21 list up 3.08%, 15 up, 1 neutral, 5 down. That is mainly carried by A-Lab, which was up 28% on earnings. Turbo 12 down 0.56%, 2 up, 10 down, SMCI down 18%. Big 8 up 2.39%, RG at 8 up 0.21%. This somehow was brought up. That is a mistake. S&P 500 up 0.73%, RSP down 0.22%, QQQ up 1.26%, QQW up 0.52%, Dow Jones up 0.18%, midcaps down 0.35%, Russell down 0.2%, Global 60/40 equities bonds up 0.42%, GROTECTION up 0.9%, and Turbo up 2.4%. And that is on the heels of A-Lab being up 28% and LEU up about 9% on the day, both on earnings. And we'll go over that in a little bit. So, as always, let's start off with the chart of the S&P 500. You can see we held the 21 EMA after last week's bearish reversal. And that was after FOMC and poor Amazon and Apple earnings reactions. And then here, closed below 21 EMA, reclaimed them the next day, retested it yesterday, and today we fall through above previous high of the day. 8 EMA is not on my chart, but it is there, and we're back above the 8 EMA. Perhaps I will put it on now instead of the 150 day. So let's do that. Nice. See, reclaim the 8 EMA. Continuing on, market surge glitching a little bit. RSP, relatively weaker, and that does make sense because if you do remember, Big A is up 2.39%, RSP is down, midcap's down, Russell pretty much down or flat as well. So that is reflecting in this tape. It's definitely a mega cap heavy market as the Big 10 really takes up about 10% of the S&P 500 now. This is still below the 8 and 21 EMAs. Qs reclaimed both the 8 and 21 and back above previous high of the day. The key now is to see what the market does in this area right here where the bearish engulfing happened. Same with S&P 500. So that will be a key contention zone. QQEW, relatively weaker for the reasons I just covered. Dow Jones, same thing, still below the 8 EMA, but reclaimed pretty much the 21 EMA. Midcaps weak, below the 8 and 21, kind of bear flagging here. So we'll see what direction this resolves, but not a good look for midcaps. Russell, small caps, bounced off the 250, but finding some resistance at the 8 and 21 here. Let's see how this bear flag resolves as well. VIX, nice to see the VIX reject 20 and now really just coming back down to the 16, 17 zone, which has been a lower volatility zone. Dollar, we saw a failed undercut reclaim of this 99, 100 area, and so far the dollar continues to remain in a downtrend. Gold. Gold weekly, super constructive base now, ascending triangle or flat base, whatever you want to call it, above this 318 area is a buy. Definitely a slower name though. Silver continues to trend upward, found support at the 50-day moving average, and now back above the 8 and 21 EMAs. Bitcoin, Let's go over to TradingView. See Bitcoin here broke out from this 112 area, soared to 123,000, chopped around, but just couldn't find momentum, and there was a huge $120,000 seller. Bitcoin loved shaking people out before moving higher, so recently sold off, but found support perfectly at 112,000. Bounced off the 50-day moving average, and now we're building a little shelf here, a little range, right above the 10-day moving average here. We used the 8 EMA in 21. We're above the 8 EMA, and we rejected the 21 EMA at the highs today. But Bitcoin looks good, and perhaps this failed breakout leads to a nice move higher in the coming days and weeks. Ethereum, just amazing move higher. It's consolidation here. It retested 3,500 and reclaimed it. Volume has dried up. On a larger time frame, we're really just in a 4-year huge base, and you can say it's a huge cup with handle. This handle is a double bottom base, and this 4,100 area is really the key pivot right here. That is the one I'm stocking. As you can see, Ethereum 10 weeks starting to catch up the price. 20 week is looking to get over the 30 week, and that is really constructive action here. I would love to see this price gap narrow, which is about 370 points, and perhaps Ethereum will try to break out soon after. And I do believe, based on the setup and precedents I've studied, this a fat pitch in the making. We all own it, GROTECTION and TurboTection, but we're definitely looking to add more exposure to this name as the action unfolds. So continue on. Let's go over some bonds. Really no action movement today. 10 years up a little bit, but rejected the 8 EMA, stays suppressed, which means the notes are pretty strong. When I look at the notes, I do see a contrarian play here. It's been in a 2-year base for a very, very long time, neglected range. People saying that, oh, the US debt deficit will lead to a bond crisis. Um, and ever since, we've just been building higher lows. The big, beautiful bill came out that sent some shock waves around people being afraid of the debt and the deficit. But as you can see, bonds are building higher lows. So TLT can be used to play bonds. Let's see what happens. But on the contrarian standpoint, there could be a nice trade here because on the worst of the worst news and our bonds aren't making lower lows, that's typically a sign that market has bottomed. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. With that being said, that is it for the inter-asset correlation. Now I want to turn to the tail of the tape as usual. Back under the bull case, uh, we initiated a rally and trend above the 21 EMA. CNN fear agrees back to 56, almost back to neutral. Major news today, we got some earnings, and so let's quickly go over those. LEU reported earnings at $1.59 versus $1.89 last year. Reported revenues at 155 million versus consensus 130. The company has a 3.6 billion backlog as of June 30th and extends to 2040. And that really depends on continuing their contract with the Department of Energy. But the good sign is that they delivered on their 900 kilogram of HALEU to the Department of Energy, and that's the production target that they agreed with the DOE. So they're hopeful that they'll continue to renew their contract. ALAB also beat on earnings and revenues, and they also guided higher for Q3. So that led to a huge move, and we'll show those charts in a little bit. AMD reported earnings in line and beat expectations. The company saw its data center revenue increase 14% year over year and guided Q3 revenues above consensus. And we'll go over that chart. Actually, let's just do it right now as we go. So ALAB is up 29% into new all-time highs here. See this earnings line has been accelerating. You can see it at the bottom panel. There's triple-digit earnings this entire way in the base, and another one, 36% surprise. So this could be the tiger by the tail, and we're definitely going to give it room to oscillate up anywhere above this 150 level. LEU gapped up, was already kind of extended, so it came back in. Didn't miss on earnings. Revenues actually, market surge actually reported different than revenues, but a fly on the wall missed on earnings, but beat on revenues. So we'll see what happens here. This is a reversal back into this range. We'll see how it develops. It might just need more time. AMD initially gapped down, but reclaimed the 21 EMA and minus 30% of earnings. So that isn't the greatest sign when a growth stock and growth story is decelerating on earnings, and actually pretty huge volume today, but it did close at 63% of the range. Finally, APP after hours is trading flat at a double beat. So we'll see what happens here. Perhaps we break out of this cup with handle here tomorrow. That could potentially be on watch as well. Today's keys, S&P versus the 8 and 21 EMAs. We closed above. Qs versus the 8 and 21. Russell versus the 8, 21, and 50. We're struggling against the 8 and 21. We did bounce off the 50 and the 200-day moving average. Day one, day count is down 1 to up 1. 1 day above the 8 EMA, 3 days above the 21 EMA. Short-term expectations are neutral slash positive. Strong sectors, bond yields, so bonds are down. Discretionary staples, tech, IPOs, cloud computing, RK, and Mag 7. Dollar is down, biotech, and pharma, and oil and gas. In GROTECTION, we added to SSO and Ethereum, 1.36 beta, 5.74% open heat. In Turbo, we bought some SSO, 1.32 beta, 4.68% open heat. Bottom line is S&P reclaimed the 8 EMA, and crypto looking to turn around. So we already talked about some of the earnings charts, so I'm not going to go over those again. One thing I do want to point out is that Ethereum, this high type flag looks great. And as you can see, this is the chart, weekly chart of Ethereum, daily chart here. And above this like 3740 area could be a buy. If that does trigger, I could see this run into this 4100 area and then find some resistance. Let's think about 10% higher, and then perhaps we have to then chop sideways again. Maybe another shakeout or so. Let the weekly moving averages catch up to price. Now, continue on. Let's go over the 21 over 21 list. We already talked about ALAB. Let's talk about ANET. Also gapped up into new all-time highs on earnings. 12% surprise, 38% year-over-year earnings, 30% year-over-year on revenues. But this one's historically quite choppy, so buying strength is probably not the best bet. Reddit, just a big, big beat. 850% year-over-year earnings, 78% year-over-year revenues. Just huge surprises on both fronts, 90.8% margins, and this presents a really just they have extremely valuable data for AI training. You can see 2025 and 2026 estimated earnings growth, 157% for this year, 75% for next year, returning from negative earnings to positive. So this company's really turning around, and it's really just still in this huge, huge base. It did break out this IPO base from last time, and we played some of that move, but now it's on for another time. 230 will remain key. Maybe offers is set up there if you missed it. That's about it. CRDO just continues to trend nicely above the 21 EMA. Really beautiful. Held the 21 on that day. Undercut, reclaimed the 21, and then continued higher. Net up 3.7% today. Broke out this cup with handle. Remained quite choppy, but held this 178 level and has continued higher so far from 175 and now 219. Palantir gaps up and follows through today. This name just has made an unreal move from sub $10, almost like a 2000% move. Earnings continues to come in strong and revenues, and they continue to expand more into the government and sign more contracts. APAP, we talked about, is up 3.3% today, down 1% right now on earnings, but we'll definitely see how it plays out tomorrow. GEV up 2.3%, just a beautiful trend. Natural gas turbine producer has your fingertips in HALEU production as well. And on the downside, AMD is down 6.4% on earnings, just on mediocre earnings. VST was down 4% today, earnings tomorrow. STX, Seagate Technology, down 3% today, broke and closed below the 21 EMA. MP Pushed higher, reversed, but this is a new all-time high, at a new high, and we have earnings tomorrow as well. SoFi, super choppy action. It was down 0.37% today, and then Hood up 0.8, but starting to flag over like 107.3, and that's a potential addable or buyable area as well. Turbo 12, let's look at the upside. HNGE gapped out this base on earnings. Revenue beat, but earnings horrible, but still looking great. Closed near highs of the day, up 26%. Sanmina got the bot earnings and really just building this post earnings gap flag here. SYM was nearly flat. Robotics name down 14% on earnings. You just never know with these things. Earnings is almost always a gamble. You can see it broke out a high tide flag, looked amazing, and now it's back to 53.3. So it did beat on earnings though, 56%. Beat on revenues too, versus expected. 56% year over year and 40% year over year revenues. That's pretty good. So maybe it's one of those, you gap down 53.6 and then it just bounces back. Potential something to watch tomorrow. Could actually be a blessing of an opportunity. And then on the downside, SMCI missed earnings down 18%. Cecil breaks the 50-day earnings tomorrow. AMSC gaps up on earnings and is starting to put in a flag here, but this name is quite extended, especially off this V-shaped recovery. So that's a review of the Turbo 12 20 over 21 list. Veer's news events today. With that being said, I'm gonna wrap it up for today's video. Uh, if you're interested in becoming a client or just have any questions, you can always email me at ted@revereasset.com. Twitter X is Ted H. Zhang. Our phone is 855 Real Wealth. That is 855-732-5932. Our website is revereasset.com, and our social medias are Revere Asset on everything else: YouTube, X, Instagram, TikTok. Please like, share, and subscribe if you appreciate our content. And with that being said, this is Ted Zhang, portfolio manager at Revere Asset Management, telling it like it is. Thank you for listening and have a great rest of your week.